Good afternoon. My name is Specialist Lamar Harris, and today I'll be discussing diversity and why it is important. Amongst the Army, when we look into diversity, it poses the question as to what it is and why it is important. So, to break everything down today, this will be an unclassified brief on diversity. Diversity is the practice of having people from different social and ethnic backgrounds, genders, and sexual orientations. This is important to the Army so that we can understand multiple perspectives for daily activity, civil considerations in foreign nations, and to reduce the opportunity for discrimination to occur. The Army is able to show why we're able to function internally as well as internationally working together with nations around the world. The role diversity plays is very crucial for our function, progression, and established guidelines. When we talk about diversity, we first have to understand that in order for us to function, there are a multitude of things that go on throughout the day. In order to enhance and better utilize our time throughout the day, it's good that we have different perspectives, such as how a female's day may go in the Army or how a male's day may go in the Army. You'll see that just from these two perspectives alone gives you two different pictures, from PRT in the morning to chow at night for our dinner chow. There are a lot of different things that we must look into in order to understand what diversity's impact is on these things. For example, when we complete PRT in the morning, the PRT program has been designed in order to better equip us for maintaining our healthy physical form and performance. As outlined in different things such as AR 7-22, that article in itself has seen multiple changes throughout the years with the evolution of the Army in order to incorporate exercises that are going to be more effective for us. And one of the ways that this was able to be incorporated was just a simple example of what a female soldier may excel in and what a male soldier may excel in. Here in this example, we see that there are two different things that both parties excel in, where males have a tremendous amount of muscular strength when it comes to our arms, where females will have a tremendous amount of muscular strength when it comes to their core and their abs. These are just two things that can really change the impact of the Army in order to instill a change that will prove effective and in turn increase our longevity. That's just one perspective or one activity that can have multiple perspectives. When we also take a look at the different foods that we eat, diversity helps teach us that different ethnicities and different cultures have found ways to provide nutrients for each of our bodies different ways. For example, most common thing that people like to do is utilize meat for protein. Different cultures throughout, I would say, Asia or South America have also shown us that you can receive a large amount of protein through beans, for example, or dark leafy green vegetables. Without the different backgrounds ethnically or the ethnic backgrounds, we would not be able to evolve and understand that we can get the same required daily nutrients that we need from different foods if we didn't have the perspectives of different cultures. That's just one example. And another example that I like to use is, for example, cleaning wipes. Here you'll see I have a great different amount of cleaning wipes here. All of them pretty much have the same function with the exception of the Clorox, but an example that can be utilized is Clorox and Lysol wipes are both wipes, but they are looked and utilized with similar formulas, not the same formula, to yield a specific result. Diversity can be looked at in the exact same way. We want to seek certain results that improve our quality of life daily, and these two different products provide an example of you can accomplish the same mission by having two different perspectives. So in turn, the way that I use this analogy, multiple perspectives do help us enhance our daily activity. The next thing I'll be discussing will be the civil considerations whenever we go into a foreign nation. Whenever we enter a foreign nation, civil considerations become a very important aspect of how we operate within each country. The way that we would operate back home in the United States would be significantly different from operating, for example, in Europe. I'm currently here in Poland, and there are certain rules and certain cultural things that it is important to understand so that we do not cause any problems with the host nation that is hosting us. Whenever we have to look at civil considerations, we should take into consideration our fellow soldiers who may also be from the same areas. Within our great army, it is a privilege and an honor to have multiple cultures amongst us so that we can better understand cultures of different nations. For example, if there is a Polish soldier who has Polish ethnicity in the United States Army, their perspective on how you should carry yourself when you're off of this base or off of a Polish base becomes very important, as to make sure that we understand how certain people take our view or how we carry ourselves. We must also understand that different norms that we see back home will not be the same norms that we should expect to see here or in another nation. In the Asian culture, for example, whenever a parental or a higher authority figure is speaking to you, it is very common practice to look down or not look directly at them in the eyes. And that's not to say it's going to be for every single culture within the Asian community as well. Whereas in the military, when someone is speaking to us, it is important that we maintain our attention or our at ease positions and make eye contact with the speaker so that we know that, so that they know that we are paying attention to them and that we are able to collaborate and understand everything that they are saying. Another example that I would like to use when it comes to just different considerations is we all use some type of deodorant. And here I have 4 different deodorants: Speed Stick, Old Spice, Degree, and Arm & Hammer. All of these do the exact same thing, but it's all looked at differently. It's the same product approached with different formulas. Diversity plays an effect into that as well, because certain different speed sticks or deodorants have different types of products, and some cultures may not religiously view those products as in turn good, or some cultures may not acknowledge or be willing to use products from certain areas. This can be tied into the civil considerations of whenever we go out on mission in foreign territory. Certain cultures may not be okay with us dropping trash everywhere, or just simply talking very obnoxiously or speaking in a certain tone or characteristic towards them. Our peers that may be from those same nations or from those same cultures assist us a tremendous amount by teaching us and showing us the different things that we should be aware of whenever we're in a different area. It's very important for us to understand this so that we don't end up in conflict with our fellow allies. It also provides us with an example that even though we have different cultures and different backgrounds, we are able to work together to show that we can collaborate with different nations, or we can collaborate with different peoples based off of their culture, for example. Something else to consider is where civil considerations come from. So civil considerations is extremely important when practicing METTC, which is going to be mission, enemy, terrain, and weather, troops and support available, time available, and what I'm speaking of now, civil considerations. This is extremely important during the military decision-making process in order for us to better understand the battlefield, whether it be from a support role or from a combat role. Civil considerations is something that we must take into consideration, or that we must take with extreme importance to make sure that we aren't doing anything that may be considered disrespectful to anyone. The diversity across the Army allows us to better understand these things and allows us to continue to move without causing any unnecessary interruptions or causing any unnecessary arguments or getting into any conflicts with people of whom we're there to assist. The next thing on my list that I'll be discussing is the reduction in discrimination thanks to diversity. We all know that it's becoming a larger role for females to join the Army, especially when it comes to combat roles. This diversity is important because it gives an example for anyone who may want to join the Army that you can do it no matter where you come from. Another thing to take into consideration is, for example, the LGBT community. Throughout the world, there's been a lot more recognition and understanding that everyone who may be considered amongst this community are all equal and they should be treated no different. By allowing the rules to reflect that, we show that we will honor and we will protect everyone as we should, as equals. The discrimination has been slowly reducing thanks to the Army updating its policies, but in order for the Army to update its policies, there have to be people from that background that may understand the things that made it hard or that makes it unfairly difficult for others to get to where they made it to or where they are. The leadership is definitely able to work more effective when there are a broader selection of people amongst them. To use an example, I have 3 different energy drinks here. Now, all 3 of these energy drinks are different, but they're all energy drinks. They all work better for certain people. We have to think of diversity the same across the Army. It may be easier for a female officer to speak to a female lower enlisted in order for the point of whatever the situation may be to get across a lot better. When we think of things as a more broader spectrum or more options, we're able to effectively handle any situation better. To conclude, I've discussed the different multiple perspectives for daily activity that diversity is able to help provide, the civil considerations in foreign nations that we take into consideration thanks to some of our fellow soldiers being of those nations and a part of us, and also the reduction in discrimination over time thanks to diversity amongst the leadership that helps us continue to advance ourselves. Diversity plays an important role that we may not every day always see, but it makes a big improvement and it allows us to work more effectively so that we are adaptable and able to progress with time. If I have any questions, please feel free to ask. And this concludes my brief, Unclassified. And now I will conduct an AAR. What was supposed to happen? A brief on diversity and why it is important. What happened? A brief on diversity and why it is important, with provided examples and different analogies to help understand the importance. Some improves that could help. Different improves can include things such as using different prompts or different analogies aside from the examples that are provided here with the wipes, the energy drinks, and the deodorant sticks. Some sustains. Some examples were provided to try and better provide a image that you can compare or relate to diversity.